This is the 311th episode of CloudFocus Weekly-ish for the last week of October 2019. This episode is titled Winter 20. CloudFocus Weekly is brought to you by the new Clone This User. They're duplicates you'll love. We have rebuilt Clone This User from the ground up in Lightning, and it now works as a Lightning component. Throw that puppy on your homepage, get the cloning. Remember, that's free on the App Exchange, or go to clonethisuser.com. I'm your host, Jason Atwood. Joining me, co-host Justin, a little perplexed on how we're doing a podcast. He's lost his ability to podcast since we are now definitely more monthly than weekly. How you doing, Justin?
What is podcast?
What is podcast?
What are we even doing?
We need to do a like what we're watching now, because I have so many terrible shows I'm watching, and we need to
I'm not really watching a whole lot.
Really?
Good.
Then I'll just talk about
I find myself just sort of lounging around and just not watching TV.
Okay, let's not touch that with a 10-foot pole. All right, so we got agenda. We got the new CTU. We can talk about that. We're gonna do a blog catch up, and then we'll talk about Winter 20. And we have a couple things on that, and then we'll
just a few things,
and then we'll pick a peck of peppers, and we'll get
pick?
You gotta get to a pick.
Man.
You remember that's what we do on this podcast.
I don't remember what we do on this podcast.
We have 35 minutes to go.
CloudFocus
whenever. All right, first up, actually on the blog, so a good on blog.arkusinc.com, you can go and see the Clone This User Summer 19 Lightning Optimization written by Cassidy. So actually, Cassidy, she helped PM this, right? The rewrite?
She totally PM'd it. She
totally
helped. She totally PM'd it.
Anyway.
PM project managed.
So for those of you who are unaware, Clone This User is one of our free apps. We have two. One we killed off. Let's not talk about that one. Stupid compliance locker. Well, we made it free, right? Didn't we put it into open source it?
It's open source. It's out on GitHub. Right. You can do whatever you want with it.
So we released Clone This User back in 2014.
We did.
As a way to, as basically solving for a long-standing admin issue, which is I have a user and I need to, that has a lot of associated things, related things, whether they're in groups, or whether they have permission sets or licensing, or even fields that I want to carry over to another user. So the use story was, hey, I want to quickly be able to take this user and make it, and clone it, fill in a couple of the things, and be able to boot up a new user, saving tons and tons of time. Literally, if you have a very complex system with lots of permission sets and things, it could save you 10, 15 minutes.
Think about queue membership,
yeah.
Public group membership, nested public group membership. There's a lot in there. So
I can't imagine this isn't just installed in every org. It should just be like a part of the base install.
It kind of should just come with the package. But like you said, for those admins out there listening, this is the big solve for when the boss's boss or the HR person or whoever sends you that email and says, we just hired Jenny, create Jenny a user in Salesforce and make Jenny just like Jimmy. And that's all they tell you. Make this user the same as that other user, exactly the same. And it's oh, thanks. There's 42 steps I now need to unravel and untangle to figure that out. Well, not anymore.
So, couple things. First of all, we've put out new videos, so you can find the video on the App Exchange listing if you want to see how it works. There's a lightning demo of it. We've tested it for summer, so I guess now we got to test it again for winter. We'll probably put out another one for that. And but the really big thing is we rewrote it as a Lightning component. So now you can throw it in the utility bar in a console. You could throw it on your homepage if you had an admin homepage. You're tracking stuff. It works just as well on the mobile, on the Salesforce mobile, so that still works. And that's it. Still does the job. Still doesn't do custom fields.
Yep. We really didn't add any features. We fixed a few issues. But other than that, we didn't add any features. I know that a lot of people have asked, can we get custom fields? And it's okay, maybe someday, but this is also a free application that saves you lots of time, and I apologize if the custom fields in your validation rules are broken or break when you try to clone a user.
Right.
I am sorry.
And it's still, I saw the other day too, does it check in advance to see if you have a license to clone into?
Does it check in advance
So
to
let's
see
say
if you have a license?
Yeah, so I have 10 licenses. I've used 10. I go to
No.
clone a user.
No, it doesn't check in advance. No.
That'd be nice.
Well, sometimes you do have a license, but then you don't have that other license. There's a lot of licenses that sometimes get carried over with permission set licenses.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, oh, here's these 22 permission set licenses that are coming over. Let me check on all those before I even let you try.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
That's a lot.
I know, but it'd be nice.
Yeah.
That's the pay version.
That's the freemium upgrade.
$3,000 per user per month.
Per user, per month, per day.
So anyway,
per second.
calling these users out.
Per click.
Go check out the blog post. Go check out the App Exchange listing. You actually can go to clonethisuser.com. I think it just bounces you right to the App Exchange. We don't really host a lot of stuff on our website for this anymore, other than in the blog. It's all in the App Exchange. That's what the App Exchange is for. So go check it out. All right, next up.
Super cool, by the way. I really like it.
Yeah,
and
it's cool.
if you want to watch the video, it's also just in the blog post, so you can.
Yes.
It's embedded in the post.
So now we're gonna go over a couple. So like we did last time, we're not gonna read into the blog post because it's too many blog posts. But we are gonna start where we left off, and we're just gonna mention a couple, what they're written, why you might want to go read them, what's cool. So we know, and we're gonna skip 2 because we're gonna talk about the winter ones. So going back, we have Pete. Is this the cross-post one?
Yeah, this is a cross-posted blog post, Lightning migration tips for nonprofits. So you can find it on the Arkus blog under that title.
blog.arkusinc.com.
Correct. But you can also find it on the Salesforce.org blog. I'm not going to give the URL, but it's there. You can search for it. It's called Help Your Users Learn to Love Lightning Experience on the Salesforce.org blog. So this was cross-posted. Really nice post by Pete White to just give a little advice on how to sort of take the path forward to migrating from Classic to Lightning, as we're going to all be doing.
Yes.
Very, very shortly.
Soon.
Although that critical update did get pushed back.
Everybody went no.
You know what? They were like,
no.
They came out with the announcement. Salesforce came out with the announcement.
Tell me what you're talking about.
So, in the upcoming release, this is the release, the Winter 20 release, that Lightning is the critical update to turn on Lightning for your org is automatically going to be flipped to on.
Yeah.
And users will be popped into Lightning once a week. It's just going to happen.
I don't like the popped into once a week.
You can prevent them from coming back into Classic if you want, but you can't. I don't think you could prevent the pop over. So it's just going to happen, and people need to know about it. And we'll talk about that more. I think I wrote about it.
All right.
But read this blog post if you haven't made the move, because this will help you. And then, again, that's not even happening till January now, I don't think.
Yeah, they punted.
They said it has nothing to do with Lightning.
Yeah,
well, other thing.
I think it's people went, who, what? No, don't do that.
Come on, they've been talking about this for 2 years. So if people are like, who, what, when,
it's not ready. Still not ready. They're very close. Like, to me, and I'm a long time user, they're super close.
Yeah, but
there's still like a few things that.
Yeah, but the few things that you're going to talk about are things that people who've never seen Classic have no clue even exist, and don't need them.
Well, don't need as a thing. All right. Next up on the blog, notable NPSP features, present and future, by Erin. So she kind of takes a look at things available in the Nonprofit Success Pack, which is the for all you nonprofits out there using that feature, which is a lot. She talks about sort of upcoming features and present new features. That thing it's on its own thing. It's not part of the release notes. They do what, every release every 2 weeks?
2 weeks, but they skip when Salesforce does major releases, they skip those windows.
It's a very interesting, like, even if you're not on the nonprofit side, you should follow what I think Justin always will say, and he's going to repeat himself. It's like what he says is the best the best application for Salesforce?
It's the best ISV app for Salesforce.
Yeah, if you're an ISV, you should actually look at how they do it. They do a really good job. Now,
and
they are internal to Salesforce. They do get kind of like it's not really fair because they're not external.
Well, that's true, but they are their own team, and they've also built out some really interesting patterns of continuous integration on how they do the upgrades of their packages. They built their own Cumulus CI. Like it's really interesting what they've done in terms of beefing up the tech and the product development at Salesforce for nonprofits.
So I don't know if this session exists. I'm just going to say you should go to it though at Dreamforce. This would be a great session to like the how we develop NPSP I'm sure it's a session. Either it's been recorded or whatever. So you should go. Again, if you're an ISV, if you're a Salesforce partner, like they do, and you've never heard of this, be interesting. All right, we're going to skip over this one because it's a Winter 21. We'll come back to it. So then we have Cassie writing again. She's trying to get her blog quote out there this year, I guess. Best practice for transitioning to Lightning. So if you're looking for ways to transition, you definitely should. I mean,
we're just trying to get as much out there as we can as we're doing it for people, so that you just learn from us. Like we're doing this always, all the time, every day. So we're just providing more resources for anyone to just read into how to make the most out of this transition, because it is an opportunity to relaunch Salesforce in a way. So if you're having adoption issues, if you're having any pain points, you have this golden opportunity right now to make those changes and relaunch it. And it looks totally different. So people will think, whoa, you like really spent a whole lot of time rethinking this whole thing. And really it's just turning on Lightning.
And I would say the number one best practice is don't just take whatever's coming out of the box. I think even more so than Classic, Lightning needs setup. It needs someone to think through and actually make things.
There's a huge it's a funny little argument. Like, why is the details the second tab and not the first tab, as opposed to the related tab being the second tab? And why is it defaulting to the second? This is weird.
I wish their
debate.
developers would go back, because there's features that they've launched since, like the related list hovers that didn't exist the quick links. Like they should go back and create better starter templates. Like bring back the features that are classic on the people. So when you jump between, it's not so jarring, because there's my quick links. There's my whatever. There's certain things that I think they should just do as best practice. Go ahead, spend some millions of dollars researching, and then come up with really good templates. Their templates that they come up with, the default ones, aren't really good. They're kind of crappy.
Well, they're 4 years old.
Right, but then redo them. Like,
well, that's what I mean.
Especially if you're about to flip people over.
There's so many new standard components that could be dropped on a page. And remember when they first launched it, now we're on a little tangent, but when they first launched it, they were talking about different objects being representing different things. So leads and opportunities they thought of as workspace style objects, where the chatter feed and the activity feed is more important than the detail.
Right.
Whereby on a contact, it's more reference material. So the detail is more important than the chatter feed. And they were trying to think about that, but I don't think they ever went too far with it.
Here's me rolling my eyes. Here's what I would suggest. My biggest tip to anybody doing this, yes, you can make everything look super different for every place. Try to use some consistency between objects, because users, if you jump from a lead to a contact and the Lightning page is completely different, it's jarring as a user. You're like, well, where's that thing I need? So at least for things, try to keep them similar. Consistency is good. So put things in the same spot, put links in the same spot, put activities in the same spot, put your tab order in the same way. So details is wherever it is. I think details should be first and it should be defaulting, because that's for a Salesforce user. It's where's my details? Yeah, maybe in 10 years we'll be like, oh, why would I land on my details? I have it in the highlight. I have it here. Super fun things you can do. It does make everybody a little mini UI developer.
It really does, especially when you do some of the tricks with the update actions.
Yeah.
and just start like laying out your page in different like subsections and tabs and just
And
throwing
components that are conditional components. I mean, that just changes everything.
Yep.
The game has been changed. All right. Lastly, on the blog,
full screens.
just up days ago. Well, yesterday.
Yesterday, my sister's birthday. Yesterday.
Aw. Happy birthday. Which one?
She turned 30.
The young
youngest.
one.
My youngest sister turned 30.
The newest.
My parents are old.
Hey, Walt. Kate writes, learning Salesforce basics, tips for new admins.
Yeah.
So, always good to come back to some of the tips, how to learn stuff. There's a nice video. Boy, everybody's doing animated GIFs in here. It's kind of cool.
We've kind of stepped up our game a little bit,
Jeez, look at our blog. Look at our almost 10-year-old blog.
Look at these animated GIFs.
Look at these animated GIFs. So much good. Anyway, so if you're new, also we actually added to the bottom of our blog. We added ways to quickly share just to LinkedIn and Twitter and email. So if you haven't seen that, that's at the blog. Also, what else we had to the blog? That's it. So cool. Go read that one. So again, tips on getting started if you're just learning Salesforce as a new administrator, which so many people are. I mean, this sort of this place is,
And we go over these on this blog post, like kind of high level. You can always go to blog.arkusync.com and like read them. Should. And rumor has it soon you might be able to sign up for a newsletter to actually receive these things.
Forward-looking statements.
Forward-looking statements. But these might just show up in your inbox one day.
Warning. Forward-looking statements. All right, so let's get to our winter stuff.
Okay.
Let's go winter now. So there's two. I wrote 2 blog posts on
How
winter.
did that happen?
Kind of weird. Whatever.
Lame.
One was yours.
I always write one.
Which is this Salesforce Winter 20 release rapid reaction written by Justin.
My SEO skills will never go away.
No, it's never the most hit blog post though. I mean, we look at it every year, and there's some really funny ones on record types that always get hit more than new ones.
That one just gets slammed.
It's literally from like 5 years ago.
From 2013, I demystified record types, and they haven't changed since, so who cares?
Kind of true. I guess a little bit.
All
right, so let's go over some. Let's pick one. You go over a bunch of new stuff.
I do. I mean, I really just meant this blog post, and I wrote it in the sort of the intro part where this is a huge release. Like, there's enormous stuff.
569 or something on the page count.
Enormous amounts of functionality. And I mentioned some stuff high level, like Flow's got some big enhancements coming, or already here, I should say, because it's been released. The mobile app, so many Einstein product names. I can't even name them. But the big thing that I kind of talked about was the Lightning Experience transition. Like, it's happening. The critical update's happening. Now it's happening in January. And they're providing some tools. So just be on the lookout for the Lightning Experience configuration converter, which has some tools built into it for like URLs to keep them alive in Lightning Experience if maybe you've hard-coded some stuff. Bad practice, but sometimes it happens. And there's going to be an actions and buttons tab so that you can take a look at trying to convert some of your old buttons into actions.
I have a suggestion.
Interesting stuff here.
I have a suggestion for Salesforce.
Are you listening, Salesforce? Because Jason has a suggestion.
I have a
for
suggestion.
You,
nice.
you better be listening.
Nice, not saying Jake. It's a good job.
Well, you're the one who said it, not me.
What now? We'll edit that out in post. Oh, by the way, we had to upgrade to the new version of GarageBand from GarageBand 6. We've been holding off. I didn't go to 7, didn't go to 8, didn't go to 9 because
should have waited for 11.
Well, no, I couldn't because 6 was like, no. It finally said, no, you're on the newest version of macOS. You cannot use this. But I haven't been doing it because there's no podcasting version for this, and so I had to refigure it. So if things sound weird or better or worse, blame Apple.
Yeah, blame Apple, not us.
Not us.
We didn't
the
do
snowballs
anything.
still do their job.
And there is no post, so
There's
there will be
post
no editing.
I've edited things in post before.
Beep.
So true. Here's what I would suggest they do for release notes.
Oh, good. Now listen, Salesforce.
Yeah. I think they should do a prioritization of the features and prioritize them sort of like biggest to smallest, so you can just go like, because it's ridiculous to read that document. And it's so repetitive, it's like they tell you. I've said this every time. That's fine. But what I'd really like is like, tell me the biggest feature first, and then let me just go down until I'm down to like, oh, we changed this API. The last one on the list is like, we changed this API name. Just let me read them by the importance. Now, of course, who's going to dictate importance? I don't really care. Don't you guys figure that out? Let Einstein do it.
Einstein figure that out. That was what I was going to say. Einstein, figure this out.
Figure it out.
Figure out who's reading this and what's most important to them.
Because that's kind of what you need. And that's what all our blog posts do, is we kind of take the biggest ones and we put them into our post. But wouldn't it be nice just to be like, sort, most important, go. Okay, there's the biggest one. That's the next biggest one. And then just read. And then it's like, oh, these are diddly. I don't care about these. And you should be able to filter out like product ones where it's like, we did a product. It's like, no, I don't want to read about your product. I want to know what the stuff that's actually happening. All right, so let's move on to our second one.
You don't want to read these I mean, I did mention.
Well, we already mentioned. You kind of mentioned the big one.
Yeah, but I mean, I mentioned a couple other little like.
Right, but we have another one to go
hitters.
to. That's what I'm saying.
Does she dupe me?
No, just a couple. So, all right. Well, what's the one that you want to talk about in this?
You can sort products on opportunities now.
That's huge.
And that was an enormous idea that was just getting hammered and slammed. And I know you had some conversations I'm
with
looking
product
at you
managers
now to see if I can say what was said or not said on that conversation about this particular feature.
I think I've said it on the podcast many times.
So they said, we're not doing that.
Yeah, they said we're not doing
They
it.
straight up told you, we're not doing that.
Let's be clear. Let's go back a little bit for those who are kind of paying attention. Maybe just fell asleep and woke back up again because we got loud. So in Classic, on an opportunity, when you have products, you can, opportunity products.
And quotes, by the way. Product line items
You
somewhere.
can sort them. So you can go in and say sort, and you can sort them manually between, 1, 2, 3, 4 in the related list. Why is this important? Well, some idiots built their entire, opportunity process where they send out statements and quotes.
Like Salesforce quote.
Yeah.
Standard object.
You want
with
them.
Quote
You
line
want
items.
you want these line items to come up in the right order. Like you want the first product, then the second product, then the third product. That's the way you always want it to go. But so you can sort them in Classic. Got to Lightning. First thing we noticed when we moved over 2 or 3 years ago, we started playing with it. It was like, nope, not existing. So then, we put in an idea and voted up the idea. And then a year ago, I think I wrote that top 10 things keep me out of Lightning. And then the product managers reached out. And we got on a call and talked about it. And they said, we're not going to do this because, and the theory was interesting, or the reasoning was interesting. They're like, we're not going to do one-off things. We're not going to build one-off, because it was a hack in Classic, basically. And that was custom code written for just these objects.
Which, by the way, you could not even get to.
Well, that's what we said to them. We said, why don't you just give us access to the API, and then we'll write our own code to do it.
Right.
And we'll
it was
put
like
out
a JavaScript hack that you could do in Classic, but you couldn't do in Lightning.
So they said, well, we'll think about doing that. I said, great. But they said, we're not going to do it. And the theory was this. We're not going to we're not going to repeat the problems of Classic and build one-off hacks for certain sets of things. If we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it for everything. So if we're gonna build the ability to sort related list things manually, we're gonna do it for any related list. A year later, of course, they reverse and they just go back and solve it, because I'm sure it's like somebody, some company that shall not be named, probably went, dude, we're not moving to Lightning until you do this, and then went, okay,
right?
And they went back and they did it.
Generating, hundreds of thousands of quotes per year out of your system, and they need to be in this order,
because we're presenting
and
it
you're
to
not even letting us do that
in Lightning. So we're never going to move to Lightning.
So we're never moving.
Never. So do it,
because our quotes need to look the way they need to look. And don't sell me CPQ, because I don't need it. I just need to sort these freaking products.
It was definitely, now I've noticed, I haven't gone in and tried to see if I can change this. You can sort them now, yay! But they don't show up in the sorted order.
No, they don't.
That's fun. Good job, guys.
Well, that's because the related list is set to sort on something, but that field is not exposed as the something to sort on.
But it is in Classic.
In Classic, it just does it. Like, it's not set to sort on, like, date or quantity or name. It's, like, that's the way the related list
on
works.
sort.
Right. But what's that field? Maybe we just need to... maybe they expose the field in the related list, and we just need to expose it and, like, sort on it.
Maybe.
I don't know.
All right, let's move on to Winter 20. Ashley writes about
this is
Winter.
her favorite. She loves this. She does this for every release, I think.
Yeah, where's Owens's lightning ideas released?
I think because
He's
we're
done with
in
his-
lightning. He was always with the lightning stuff.
Yeah, that was his. Get that one out.
That was his big one.
All right, so Ashley writes Winter 20 ideas delivered. We could just cut.
22 ideas have been delivered in this release. It's
That's-
less than in summer 19.
Yeah, she's calling them out.
However,
She's like,
the points are almost double at 215,000 points being
by the
retired.
way, can we all just ask the question? Let me ask
Why don't
you a
you
question.
ask and I'll answer?
Where the F is this ID Exchange reboot?
It's the dumbest thing ever. I gotta be honest with
wait,
you.
I didn't even ask
I'm
the
not
question.
even letting you answer. I'm not even letting you ask.
Oh, then I'm going to shut up and I'm going to leave the podcast.
Shut up and leave.
I'm not going to talk
Just
anymore.
get out. I'm taking over.
You got 11 minutes. You better
Oh man, I better hurry up.
Yeah.
It's
Just a meter.
It's buried away in some stupid Trailblazer chatter group somewhere in like a get feedback form. It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. If you're going to relaunch the Idea Exchange, relaunch the Idea Exchange. Don't just pull ideas off of it, throw it into like some get feedback survey and make me redo this. I'm already on the Idea Exchange and I'm already submitting an idea and I'm already voting on it. Why don't you just take the votes, take the points? You already have a thing set up to prioritize things. Points.
Right, but what they wanted to do was limit people per week. Per release. So you would get, let's say, 10 votes every release, and then you could spend those 10 on anything you want, but then that's it. You could not vote for more for that release, which is the way it should be, because otherwise you could vote on everything.
Then, do it.
But they haven't done it.
So do it.
Just do it. Salesforce, just do it.
I mean, trust.
All right, we're not here. All right,
trust is your number one value.
I'm making a
do it.
a decision.
Just do it.
We're not gonna do picks this week, so we're just gonna keep talking.
Good, because I don't have a pick.
That's right.
I'm gonna pick one of Ashley's things here.
All right. Pick one of your favorite Winter 20 features.
I'm gonna.
Is it recycle bin?
No, it's
Is it
not.
recycle
I
bin?
don't care about the recycle.
Is it recycle bin?
It is not.
Oh, okay.
It's the start a flow on a schedule.
That's super cool.
So I've seen some pretty crazy flows these days.
There's some Flonistas, Phonatics.
I'm not sure what Flonatics I think is
Phonatics?
actually.
We have a few Phonatics. I think it's a little druggy. Like, you find people who start using flows, and
we have a couple of folks on staff who are like, I'm gonna flow everything.
Yeah.
Like, all right, I guess so.
Yeah. It
Here-
becomes a little bit like
here's where-
you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Yes.
It's like, oh, I need to enter in a lead. I'll put a flow on that. Like, no. How about just quick new lead?
New. Or just create an action. Anyway, this is cool.
Super cool.
And I've seen flows, and I've seen the types of things that people are doing with flows, and it reminds me a lot of like when I used to create workflow rules that worked like 10 years ago, and it was like, that's magic. That field just updated because I updated that. What? And an email got sent out. Amazing. So like all of a sudden, administrators have this crazy like developer power at their disposal. But with that developer power comes
great responsibility.
Great responsibility. Because as we know, you can really, really max out your org by doing some very poor practices in terms of bulkification, and just like some developer would tell you, don't put a DML operation inside of a for loop. What does that mean to an admin building a flow? Well, you got to think about the same exact thing, but it probably doesn't mean anything to you.
No, it doesn't.
But you got to think about it. And then if you're going to start scheduling them, like a scheduled job that's going to start chunking through lots and lots of data, heed my warning. This may blow your org up if you don't do it right. So please test this in a sandbox. Test it in a full sandbox with lots of data.
Or partial, which you get for free.
Sure. Test it somewhere with lots of data that's going to be chunking through, because you might blow up your org. That's all. Be careful.
I mean, flows, again, I'm not a flowista yet. Primarily because I have a dev team. So I could just be like, dev team, make it dev. Make it so nice in the dev. But it every time we do these internal workshops here, Kimono Open, that we show off stuff we've done internally just to kind of like, hey, what have you been doing? What have you been doing? And a lot of them have been, in the last month or so, have been flow, which is cool because then we all get to learn about it. Super powerful. It does kind of make me, again, I think we've talked about this, it does make me feel like, why is Process Builder and Flow different? Why are they different?
I don't know if in the future they will be. I think Process Builder was the first step in creating the new visual flow builder.
And is there a good doc that like tells me like, here's what you can do in workflows, here's what you can do in Process Builder, here's what you can do in flows, and with like kind of features? So
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I do know that there are some, in my opinion, bad recommendations out there from Salesforce on Trailhead teaching people to not use workflow rules anymore and to only use Process Builder, and I think that that's not a good thing to preach. I think that you should use the right tool for the right job, and workflow rules to me are rock solid.
They work.
They work. They are bulked. You don't have to worry about it. You have a field update. You can throw it against the bulk API, and that thing's going to perform.
It's also simple, quick,
very
easier to build, easier to take
and
down,
guess what?
deactivate.
If you have like 30 of them on your object, who cares? Like, as long as you know what they're all doing and they don't bump into each other.
Get 30 process builders going on an object.
Well, it'll warn you after the first one. Like, you should only have one of these. It's kind of like a trigger.
Really?
Right.
Like a trigger.
So it's like, how do I get all my logic into this one process? And then you hit SOQL query limits. That doesn't happen with workflow rules. It just doesn't. No. So I think they built Process Builder on top of the Flow engine, right? Because you're deploying a Flow interview or whatever.
Yep.
And that was their first try at throwing a better UI on top of that Flow builder. And now they've got the nice visual builder. I don't know where they're going to go in the future with these things. I cannot see them like completely deprecating workflow rules because that would be a nightmare.
Smells like documents, files, and attachments and content. Smells like knowledge, lightning knowledge, and solutions.
Yeah.
Smells like...
I mean, workflow rules aren't going anywhere. I've got a client that uses them to do outbound messages, and you can't do that any other way. Like an outbound message, really simple
outbound,
one,
right?
It's just
like
sending all it's doing is sending an ID to an endpoint.
Yeah, there you go.
It was so simple, and like to do that using any other thing would be...
There's reasons, and
difficult.
I think the problem is no one's teaching people without tons of experience. No one's teaching people why you would use one or the other, and there's definitely still examples of why you should just do a workflow rule. Don't put that in a process. Then there's reasons like, ooh, that's a good reason for a process. Now it's weird between process and flows. I mean, flows have lots of they can have front ends, they can have interviews, they can have screens, they can be scheduled. Process builders can't be scheduled, right? They just run on a thing. They don't have a schedule to them.
They do.
You can't say run at 8 o'clock. You can't say
no,
run
but they
this
have
process.
timed actions.
Yeah, that's different.
Which is kind of like a time-based workflow.
But it's waiting for something to happen versus I'm gonna run over and do this. So anyway, it becomes very difficult as an admin.
I will say the one big thing that I know exists as like a process builder versus flow thing is if you're creating a record within a process, you still can't reference it later in the process.
Right.
Although in flow, you're just passing variables through to things.
Yep.
Again, more developer-y. So yeah, you can create a record way up at the start of the flow and then do something to it like 23 steps later if you want to. Can't do that in Process Builder. You cannot reference a record that you've created maybe 4 steps earlier.
Yeah,
because you might want to create it, do a bunch of stuff, and then like chatter on it, or maybe do another thing to it. Like create another record that's related to it.
I want to do another thing by saying one of my favorite new features, of which I wish was both ways, but it shows up in the org. My Winter 20 favorite, it is Winter 20, isn't it? Is the I'm in Classic and I click switch to Lightning and it just brings me in line. Like super awesome.
To that record.
To the record.
Or to that page.
To the page.
Because it might be a list view,
it's really nice.
Homepage, whatever.
again, I know why you're not doing it, Salesforce, but come on, just do it the opposite way. Come on, just make my life easier. I know it's like, well, we don't want to help you get back to classic.
It's right there in your recent items. One more click.
Yeah, come on, dude. Help me out. All right. Well, that's it. We got to wrap up because we have other stuff to do. So that's our work. But look at that. A podcast in October. Guess what? Next one, probably November. Might be about Dreamforce. Might get like 2 or 3 next month. Well, we'll see when we get this one up, too, because it's done in this whole new version of GarageBand, which I don't really understand. Remember, you can follow us all at Just Edelstein on Twitter, at Jason M. Atwood, and if you want to follow the company, at Arkus Inc. Remember, in all the groups, the Success Community, Trailblazer Success Community, the Power of Us, we have groups in there if you want to do it. We have LinkedIn, and we would love for any reviews if you like the sound of our scratchy voices. Subscribe and review on iTunes, Stitcher, Google, TuneIn. They're all listed, too. We list them all on the side of the podcast if you want to listen to wherever you want. I think we even got into Spotify. Yeah, I think we're in Spotify, too, now. Anyway, we're all over the place. Enjoy. We'll be back when we can. Next time, it's Justin and Jason saying, enjoy those cloudy days.